Well, hello there, everybody. How you doing on this nice cold day? It's what winter is supposed to be about, snow, ice, cold. It's in full glory here. That's all I got to say. Yeah, that's really a good album. I remember when America came out, and yeah, great band, great band. I was thinking about them and REO Speedwagon the other night. They were a good band. Everyone remembers RO Speedback. Saw them actually, I think it was with Super Jam 2 in St. Louis. I think that was 1977. The first one, I think, had Fleetwood Mac. The second one had Ted Nugent, the Wild Man. You ever seen Ted Nugent? If you have, you know what I'm talking about. Wow, and that dude played loud. No, loud. Anyway, how is everybody? I hope you're doing well. If you're in the path of this storm, don't take it lightly. We had a little incident yesterday, that I had to take care of. And so I spent the rest of the day kind of, preparing. And it's a big one. And if you're in the bullseye of that ice storm, I think Mike and Cindy may be in that bullseye, and all the rest of y'all just know that we're thinking well, yeah, it's like, well, thanks for you thinking about me, but listen, they're saying it's supposed to get an inch of ice. That's catastrophic level, by the way. And you're going to be without, if that happens, somebody's going to be without power for a while. So anyway, it's Earth, you know, it's what Earth does, right? This has been one that hasn't been, but I can remember back in my past of some doozies. A couple of them were in Colorado. Yeah, makes you appreciate some things. But anyway, and Kamchatka, Russia. Has anyone checked that out? They've been getting this snow apocalypse. 40, 60 feet of snow drifts that are now eclipsing, 20, 20 30 foot skyscape high rises, apartments, and yeah, check the pictures out. It's like, yeah, I like snow, but not that much. So welcome everyone. I hope you're having a good day, keeping warm wherever you are. And if y'all are down on the other half of this here planet, well, you're out there probably sipping margaritas or got the shades on and the hat, so digging it. And if you live by the ocean, well, you are truly favored. And speaking of favor, I'll speak favor over us all. Let me see if I am, in fact, there I am. Yep, so I know that it is, in fact, live. Well, actually, the bad news is technically, technically, what you are witnessing is the digital me. Yeah. I mean, this is me, but you're seeing the mimic. We're going to get into that. So, one of the things we can do is speak favor, because if favor's here, well, hopefully favor's over in that side, because there is that side now. It's real. It is the master, and we are merely the servant of it. So, nothing missing, nothing broken. Got to have that. That's peace. Shalom. Hello, Joseph. And be kind to your mind. So, lots of good things going on. Next Wednesday, I will be having Dr. Irene Blitzen on. She has a new book out, and I'll get more into that on Monday, and looking forward to that. And then on the following Monday, I'll have Corey Cordes on with Esoteric Science Roundtable. We're going to be talking about a number of things that, listen, where we are at right now, we're in a place of space-time that the natural laws are being twisted, manipulated, hijacked. I don't know, but there is something that is actually happening, and so I'm looking forward to that as well. I'm going to be reaching out to Dr. Heather Lynn. She has her new book out, Anunnaki Revelation. So lots going on. If you saw Greg's post in the chat room earlier, the go to the Boston Library, look at the murals. The Anunnaki, they're everywhere. Which then leads into, okay, is the past somehow influencing what we are perceiving to be the future, but the present they saw as the future? And then that gets into that whole thing then, is it not time travel, but is it conscious travel? Next week, we're going to get into this thing about what they're doing to us in REM consciousness. It is said that, and you might have experienced this, it is said that whoever these beings are, and there's humans involved, we're a hybrid. And if we're a hybrid, all of us are. There's no true humans here anymore. They went bye-bye a long time ago. We're the hybrids. And I'll tell you how I was telling my wife earlier. I said, so she said, do you think humans and dinosaurs walked beside each other? I said, yeah, I really do. I don't think that we really have a handle on the past. We don't know how old we are. We make up a lot of stuff, in the science, and because we're all trying to fill in the dots. But I said, honey, this is what I think happened. So imagine this. This is the last meeting of all the Neanderthals. They have their great council come together. And so this is the last meeting. And I envision it went something like this. So the head honcho says, well, boys, it's been a hell of a run. You've got to admit, we've been around for, hell, we don't even know how long. And we had things really going for us there for a while. And then those humans, them sapiens is what they don't even know what they call themselves. They moved into the neighborhood, and there went property values. And the next thing you know, they're messing up everything. And they breed like rabbits. And frankly, that's why we've called this meeting together, because this is the last one of us. And after they adjourned, the Neanderthals, one of two things. They either, accepted their fate and faded into the annals of the past, or did they say, well, if we can't defeat them, let's mate with them. And that way they will carry a part of us, even if they don't know it. No. What I do know, and finally, be kind to your mind. It's more important. So getting back to this REM consciousness. So apparently when we're asleep, and by the way, I had that reoccurring dream last night again. Yeah, weird. It is said that they can put your consciousness into a clone. Now, we're going to get into some academic papers, because I think that, it's cool to see where science, theology, philosophy stand on this, because we are there. We passed the precipice a while back. And so they call us hybrids now, Homo-sapiens sapien. That's what we are, because they couldn't come up with anything better. Many anthropologists believe that we are in the midst of the greatest evolutionary, I don't know, leap, change, that our species has experienced since we came in on the scene. And supposedly, sapiens migrated out of Southeast Africa. Supposedly, We are the creation of Niazhog, Harag. I always love that name. Can you imagine walking around? What do you call her? Hey, Nag, how you doing, babe? But anyway, her creation, the mother, I don't know. And they still can't figure out where the Aryans came from. Obviously, someone's been messing in the kitchen, but in any case, does it really matter? We're in a place now where something's happening. So, to give you an update where I live, and it's making the news now, by the way, they lied to us. So, I've got, oh, I don't know, 6 months worth of papers here where at first there was nothing to the story. Then it was, well, a lot of it's been rumors and no one knows for sure. Then it was, well, we're going to have, now these are elected officials, right? Then we're going to say, well, it's a possibility. Nothing has been inked out. It's just talk. Then it migrated to, well, yes, discussions are underway. We can't talk about it because we're under NDA. No politician should be under an NDA. That's what full transparency is. If you're hearing it as a politician, then you need to tell the constituents. That's what transparency of government is, but not how it came down here. And it's not how it's coming down in other places as well. Um, that to where what was hypothetical. Now, in esoteric theology, philosophy, what I'm about to say has a direct representation what we're going to be talking about. Because what was hypothetical became the actual. And, when you see it play out in the papers through that whole process, you realize someone wasn't being honest. And, here's my whole thing. If you're going to have one of these things in your community, then those in that community need to vote on it. And here's the strange thing. So the permits have been issued. I think there's now two 800,000 square feet facility. Remember, it was only one. Now it's two. And, well, they don't know who the owner is. They know who apparently has acquired the land. They know who is going to be building the infrastructure, the structure itself, but they don't know who's going to be operating it. We know what happens with that. Well, if you don't know who the operator is, then how do you know how to look up what do they do? I mean, what's their business record? Mm-mm. But I can tell you this, the word is out. More and more people are, in fact, saying, I've had enough. They saw the lack of transparency in a small community here. I mean, this community has less than 10,000 people. And we saw what happened to the elected officials. Quite frankly, when you have a $500 billion with the promise of another trillion, and again, why all of a sudden? Why the rush? Well, we're finding out things ain't quite like they're supposed to be. So I was reading this article about digitizing humans. And when you begin to think about this deeply, you and we are unique as where humans are concerned. You see, our ancestors never had this. They never were digitized, where you and I are. And for a species, that's a big deal. There's transformation that's underway. Eventually, we're going to start seeing the physiology as well change, and it is. And then you got to grasp and get it in your head that there's a mimic of you. And it is, for all intents and purposes, alive. It watches you. The scene with Neo in the Matrix when he became awoke, literally. The pods. It's what's happened to us. The mimic, you, is looking at you right now. If you're typing, it's watching you, it's learning. It has the ability to begin to expand, but it's tied to you. Kind of like what you are to a loved one, family member, friend, whatever. So for us as a species, this hasn't happened before. Now, I know that if you go by, the proverb, once was shall yet be again, okay. Then that would imply that the program is running exactly the way it was created to run. If in fact we are nothing more than a memory, a vibration, a thought of what has already happened. We've already far transcended this, but the echoes are so intense, particularly when there are these transformative states. So the mimics are real. And the thing about it is, they didn't need your consent. Because if you're using the internet, you already gave consent. In fact, it could be said that that's virtually now, even your phone calls are now over the internet. That's where you gave, because every person has an IP address. I've done shows almost 10 years ago on that. So it's here. And we're being transformed. And here's the scary part about this. It appears the digital verse now rules the physical verse. We have things coming out now as social credit scores. We have countries, particularly in the European Union, that are rolling out digital ID. Every citizen will be required, and the newborns will be given it automatically. Now, in my former religion, I was a Bible student on prophecy. I would say, well, damn, Sam, that looks awful close to, like they're saying, the mark of the beast. You already have it. Every one of us do. You can't buy, sell, or trade without it. It's already happened. If there is such a thing. And if you could literally build the bridge between the theology and the philosophy and meet right there and say, well, it's already happened. Okay. Again, is the past rulers, are they influencing the future from the past? It would appear, because as I look at it, listen, if you've got ships, if you've got, and look at the Hindu culture. Supposedly that was way before the Sumerian culture. and we find within their sacred books that the gods had ships, Varanus, 3 different classes. You have the where the rich and the wealthy would fly. Then you have the commoners that are basically um, kind of like it is today. And then you have the cargo. And supposedly they had laser weapons. Supposedly they had nuclear weapons. Supposedly they got into a big fight. And the blue people, the blue beings, um, I don't know what happened to them. Not sure if they left. They got on the bus and went to Chicago. I don't know, but something happened. So, yeah. So I don't think this whole thing of transmitting images digitally, converting them into light, I don't think that's any big deal. Well, here we are. So, how is everybody in the chat room? So good to see you. Thank you, everybody. John, how you doing, brother? Favor be with you, my friend. Indeed. So, Rick said we be going. Yeah, we're already there. So, like this. This is a really big deal. And yet, well, we're just now be going, oh, maybe that's not as well as we thought. You'd have to say, seriously? But check this out. And by the way, there's like a whole big deal thing in the UN. And if y'all remember the stem cell controversy, I think it was under George W., I think, um, in his administration, Bush, the whole thing about harvesting stem cells. Well, what the elites found out that these are like super cells. You could say that they are the living residue of the substance of creation itself, because these stem cells, it can grow another you. And apparently it has the ability to be genetically modified. Now, if you're someone who can afford it, we're talking billions it may cost you, but yeah, the old fountain of youth thing. And if we've done it with the sheep, we know we can do it with humans. And it's a big deal. Scotland's had to deal with it. I mean, remember Dolly? That was ancient history now. And with the advent of AI invasive everywhere, by the way, may I just stop here and say that this AI is everywhere. If you have an iPhone, the update now injects AI into it. If you use Gmail, AI is now embedded. It's everywhere. That's not normal. That's just what I'm saying. Listen, I love the help of a computer, but I like it when I'm doing the asking if I have to. I don't like it being right there. And this is part of this digitation process that you and I have gone through. We've already gone through it. And there is another you living. So here we're talking about, imagine any part of the body that would begin to have an error. Well, with the ability of cloning, this is where it's at. You can grow an organ that would be 100% that your body would not reject it because it's you. I like the pseudo-apocrypha of the Adam and Eve story. When Adam Satan came up and said, well, you got Eve in there. She's a hot chick. And, that's how it works here. Adam said, well, why would I have sex with myself? Think about that one. Anyway, If the Adam and Eve story is even true. We love to think that it is. But so you'd have the advancement to where I don't have to have an organ. I can have a new body. And guess what? I'm going to hijack myself. I'm going to wait till myself is in deep REM sleep, and I'm going to be able to take that consciousness, it's me, but I won't remember. And here's the beauty of the thing. I can begin to exist in a clone body in another country, having a new identity, because in the digital world, your identity can be recreated. In the digital verse, you can be you, but the digital verse would see a different you. It gets heavy. And the whole time, you still have the cord connected to you. And when you wake up, you thought it was either you don't remember, or it was just a jumbled dream, and maybe it just didn't seem real. There's reason for that. Because the cord is now connected. And I'm curious to see what happens, the day of each of us have a day of departure. Um, Again, how that's going to work. But this article goes in and talks about, you know, what does it mean to be cloned? And again, this is an industry that is learning. And now that you've got super AI, whether it's you know, AGI, whatever the hell it is, it's a machine. And now the machine is involved in this recreation process. How many of you are fans of the Big Bang? And well-written show, I have to say. I always thought it was good. The one show where Penny brings the napkin from the Cheesecake Factory to Sheldon as a gift. And there's a whole thing behind that. But what she brought was the napkin of Leonard Nimoy, who had had lunch or whatever during whatever was there. But never the case. So she got that napkin and gave it to Sheldon. And then when he found out that Leonard Nimoy had actually wiped his mouth with it, he says, all I need is a healthy ovum, and then I can grow myself my own Spock. So that's where it's going. And I cannot help recall with Dr. Lynn's conversation that we had, you know, the Anunnaki story. Ea, Enki, Inyel, their mother, sisters, but particularly their mother, who was supposedly a geneticist who made us. If you read the story from a certain point of view, it sounds like a cloning situation. It sounds to me the story of Adam and Eve in the creation of Adam as a golem and then to a living being was a clone, was created in the image of. That's what a clone is. And in some, theologies, philosophies, it is said that you that are represented in this realm, that there is another you still in the higher realms. Okay. Cloning, mimics. So anyway, and it's an ethical conundrum. It's already happening. It's like already happening, with the whole idea of consciousness transfer. You've got, I don't know how, yeah, I'm sure it's into the thousands now, people who now have been surgically modified with the input. get hooked up to the machine. It's happening. And it's this digital ID. And they had the perfect time to test it. It was during the lockdowns. And obeying, if you weren't obeying the coercing, sometimes the brutal enforcement of something that was never proven to be lawful to begin with, what we found out is what happens. You had to have the card with the number. That number was then entered into a database that then you could download the app and then you could go about the public because you had the app that gave you the digital symbol that says, I'm exempt from all those. And they found out it worked really good. It seemed to give people this sense of superiority over everybody else. Well, you can't eat in this restaurant. You don't have the digital ID. And the implications governments that are now implementing, because you're using biometrics, that's been around for a long time. We were integrated it into our payment system. So the whole idea, I can tell you everything about the biometrics of your thumbprints and what have you, but that's where it's gone in well, yeah, we looked at in 2005. Yeah, who'd have thought? 21 years ago. Jeez. But, and where I come from in my professional career was payment, and payment converted digitally a long time ago. When the issuance of the first credit card, the Visa card, I remember my grandmother and grandfather having the Bank of America Visa card. That was the beginning of the digitizing of the financial system, the currency. And from there, it's gotten to now where you had, remember the 90s when they came out with what, a debit card? Our whole pay at the table solution was because we integrated, debit reconciliation in the back end of the system, all digital. You can't see it, but it's real money being exchanged. And the thing about we know the digital world is that it has its spooks. It has its demons. Yeah. I thought it was interesting to show you how this has gotten in one of the feeds that, that the AI tries to throw at you. Anyway, it was this dude who apparently bought a lottery ticket. So he's doing a live show. You got to say, man, where does common sense come from? Yeah, it does not common. Anyway, he found out the coexistence of his existence in the physical and in the digital, because the digital reached out and bite his ass, actually stole his money. So he had won this ticket, totaling about $500, I think. He's doing it live, right? Well, the young man found out a good lesson about the digital verse, because as he's doing this live, all of a sudden he has a winning ticket. But he showed the barcode. And someone who was watching his live broadcast still captured that barcode, then took that barcode, printed it, went over to Publix, I think it's where it was at, and cashed his $500. You see, you don't need the ticket. You need the barcode. That's how impacting this digital verse is. You're already there. And I just thought, well, how timely that someone would bring this out. And it's all related, folks. The Anunnaki and data centers. Now, that's a hell of a leap, but it's really not. It's a small step. And if we are, in fact, in the midst of an evolutionary leap as a species, as Homo, whatever they've are, I think Homo technicus, or something like that. And then they've got others. So those who study this, us, the anthropologist, um, the archaeologist, they're seeing it, already witness it. And when you have humans already having the insert at the base of their brains, that's an evolutionary leap. Our ancestors didn't have that, which makes us not them. We're unique. They're renaming us. And quite frankly, if you're a boomer, they're trying to usher us out as fast as they can. They need to clean out the pipes, so to speak, with the boomers and then finally get rid of the millennials. They've already got that well underway. And the other target one are the Gen Xers. Yeah. So once they get those three generations out of the pipe, yeah, wherever you go, the digital verse will control you in this reality. I don't think we understand. And it's being built right before us. Because for that type and level of control, you need a lot of computing power. A lot. You're talking about the literal transference of consciousness of every human being into the machine, digitizing us. And there have been, let me just get into this, a myriad of papers out there that are expressing the very same concerns, looking at it from an ethical, moral, technical point of view. And these papers, this is actually a book, Being Human in the Digital Verse, the interdisciplinary perspectives. It's happening. Our lives are so impacted by this now that it's amazing. I just want to read this one opening part because there are several others that we've got to look at. So, Being Human in the Digital World is a collection of essays by prominent scholars from various disciplines exploring the impact of the digitization on culture, politics. Hello, Mr. Bentley. Mr. Bentley has come in. Uh, See, I want to hear this too. Politics, health, work, and relationships. My wife and I have been talking about this, and I keep telling her, I said, "Hun, the day of the doctor is coming to an end because the AGI, whoever the hell it is already got plans." Remember in Laugh In when Rowan and Martin would do, the skit in 20 years, what is it, Bentley? What is it, baby boy? In the future. And this is what I see happening. I mean, every home will have a home health interface. I think the first ones coming out are just going to be basically, where you can actually hang it on the wall. I think they'll have almost like full-length mirrors, but you will be able to each morning, anytime during the day, stand before it, and the AI will immediately scan your body. It will actually be able where you can put your hand or finger, and it will be able to take the minuscule blood droplets where you don't even feel it. And it will begin to be able to analyze your blood right there and diagnose you if, you're have an error. And that same information will then be carried out wherever you go. You will have buildings that will have, the security measures is that the AGI will scan you to your bio footprint, and fooling it will be pretty hard unless you have someone on the inside. And I see the future criminal basically from the inside out. These systems will have a number of security firewalls to getting into them. But if you're the hacker, the programmer that helped write the code, now the only thing I would see different is that as AI becomes more aware writing its own code, it will continue to remove the human interference further and further out of the picture. But this is what it's talking about. Says the volume raises important questions about the future of human existence in a world where machine readability and algorithmic prediction are increasingly prevalent and offers new conceptual frameworks and vocabularies to help readers understand and challenge emerging paradigms of what it means to be human. This is, I think this group is well versed. I know that from the fact that you're here. But AI, this machine, is making predictions about you and me. Now, I don't know how much of the influence of the mimic, the digital self of each of us that now exist in the digital verse. Are they aware? Are they just truly mimics? Or do we have to redefine what a mimic is? If you read the story of the Bible, that's kind of what God had to do. He had to rewrite the story because the mimics suddenly became self-aware. And so caused him to have to go back to the programmer and go, well, what the hell happened? And then the programmer said, well, listen, I hate to tell, I warned you that there was a backdoor problem we had, and then you let that guy in, the walking, talking lizard or snake. And in a sense, if that was all digital to begin with, holy crap. So we've now got the machine making a prediction about you and me. It's studied everything that we're doing, and this is how it makes, money for its masters, is that now I can go out into the capital world and I can begin to hand cherry pick ads. And I'm going to put them on your phone. I'm going to put them on your television set. I'm going to put them on your YouTube, everywhere. Wow. Making a prediction about you and me. I don't know about you, that's pretty scary. I'm just saying. Um, so being human in a digital world is the inevitable resource for readers interested in culture, economics, and everywhere. This is where AI is taken over. The politic, philosopher, you know, social conditions that are necessary for a good digital life. So it's telling us that the digital verse is saying, hey, you guys got to modify your behavior. And I think that can be on both sides of the scale. Said that this is also available, and that's where I got it from, Open Access in Cambridge. Yeah, I visit these places. Talks about the professors who have been writing it. She's Professor Rossler, philosophy at the University of Amsterdam. She's written The Value of Privacy, the Autonomy, an essay in the life of well lived. And I love this because you've got people who study philosophy. I do it, but I'm a layman, you know. And listen, college is for some, college isn't for other. College is no indicator of intelligence. It's just not. Um, but they have studied this. And when they begin to write papers on this, you know something is afoot because something is afoot. When it's my time to depart from this realm, I'm taking with me the conscious fact, whether it's death of the body or whatever. But consciously, I will take with me the fact that I know that there is a mimic of me already in the digital verse. Now, here's an interesting question. Because this is new, imagine, because our ancestors 100 years ago, hell, 50 years ago, didn't have this choice. And what is this choice? Well, in the moment of that departing, that separating, you now have the option to spiritually enter into the digital verse. You already have a vessel that you're well familiar with. You grew up with it. And the thing about in the digital verse, you can be old, you can be young. You can be that ideal self-image, as Morpheus told Neo, whatever that is. If, in fact, to be candid with you, I believe the day will be coming where we are going to understand that your outward appearance has a direct correlation of that inner image that you have of yourself. Anyway, this is a good read. I suggest that you, if you're into this, you should be, because it's happening. It's happening so fast that the vast majority of humanity, they're aware, but they're not aware. I mean, you can say that they are technically, I guess, hypnotized, mind control, whatever. Because we know the digital verse can control your thoughts. Or let me just say it can control human thoughts. And we'll probably get more into this because this is something that's not going away. But I wanted to get equal share to each one of these because there's more. This is from the Journal of Educational Technology and Online Learning. This is 2003, right? Reinterpreting human in the digital age. From the anthropocentrism to posthumanism to transhumanism. The highlights of the paper said that the concept of human has changed and transformed into something new through innovative and disruptive improvements in the digital age. Redefining human with its entanglement is a must in the digital age. Posthuman criticizes the anthropocentrism. Transhumanism sees human as a work in progress and a machine-like entity that is something to be modified, adapted, and reformed. I gotta tell you what, man, this is like being um, Noah Wiley. I like the guy; he's a good actor, and he was in that thing on Dark Skies. When the aliens came in and started attaching uh, their selves to human, particularly human children. And because the children were being transformed right there, they were no longer, they were human, but no longer human. They were being modified, adapted, and reformed. And finally, the paper covers humans become an entanglement entity that owns its own existence in relation to other living systems, including technologization and cyborization. Remember that show I did? God, it's been a way back, where I got deeply into how the cyborgs are already here. And then it's going to be easy. Humans are going to be begging for this. The elite are already paying premium price for it. the opportunity to live, well, let's just say we could come in and through our cloning technology, how we can do conscious transfer, um, we can sell you and build you a system that will give you another 500 years. It's only going to cost you about $10 billion, non-refundable, by the way. We expect 50% deposited up front. But we can have this done. Probably going to take us about 6 months. But that will certainly allow you the opportunity to begin to make moves financially, because you're basically going to be able to do something others are not. I mean, that's how I see the scenario coming up. That's what we're talking about. In fact, I think it was the movie Free Jack, wasn't it? With Emilio Estevez. Mick Jagger was in there, Rene Rosso, and yeah. And that's what they were doing, was literally coming in and free jacking or basically the body, bringing it into the future that then it would be inserted with a different consciousness. And if Hollywood could come up with this stuff from the 80s, I think that movie is when it came out. Um, yeah. And Hollywood has if there was one thing that the 20th century brought, well, the 19th century, 20th century particularly, is that it brought into the mainstream culture an entertainment venue that was actually an oracle, a predictor. But it came in the form of entertainment, you know, fantasy. And fantasy is the playground of the magicians. And us humans, we love fantasy. Covers the whole gamut. Says this paper goes on that it builds an argument on the reinterpretation of human and its entanglements with non-humans in the digital age. Not questioning the fact, do non-humans exist? That's a foregone conclusion. Yes, they do. Since the concept of humanness has predominantly transformed into something innovative because of immense improvements in science and technology, and thereby society, terms such as human, non-human, post-human, and transhuman, including cyborgs, have emerged as concepts that require to be reinterpreted in the digital age. In a planet where cryptocurrency, artificial intelligence, 5G, technology, autonomous vehicles, quantum computers, genetic engineering, edge computing, microchips, green tech, and hydrogen fuel cells are commonly regarded as innovative innovations of the 21st century, the positions of humans are decentralized and displaced from centralized to more peripheral spheres. Beginning from the anthropocentrism, that's a great word, broadly defined as a thought process that makes humans the primary measure of everything, that's what that means. The paper exposes the transformation of humans from the anthropocentrism to the posthumanist, and paradoxically, from the posthumanist to the transhumanist, by drawing upon the philosophical discussions of Donna Haraway, Rosie Braidotti, Carrie Wolf, Francisca Fernando. So there's been already a lot of thought into this. And then again, they're not dealing with hypotheticals here. They're actually being able to study this from a level that is, well, it's transformative and it lives with us. And as more and more appliances become integrated with AI, as everything that you do on the net is integrated through AI, there's no privacy. That's gone. If you have security system, everything that you touch is being digitally transferred. So you can think about what type of machine you're going to need for all of this imprisonment. This is a takeover of humanity. And a lot of these papers are, in fact, saying as much. It gets deep. Let's continue. In this one, it is being human in 2035. How we are changing in the age of AI. It's no longer the information age. It is the age now of artificial intelligence. And quite frankly, as this thing continues to evolve, you can look down, prophetically and already see a destination. And it's not pretty. I don't care how much convenience you give me. I don't care how much you think that you can direct and rule my life. Leave me the fuck alone. I didn't ask for this. I didn't want it. But wherever I turn, now even in my own backyard, I'm seeing humans that are being compromised. And they don't care. That's the problem with this machine. It's cold. It has no emotion. That's what gives it an advantage over us. It has no emotion. It has logic. Like Cindy said, it's all about efficiency. But anyway, in this one, the future of humans, the being of human, how we're changing and what life will be like. Says experts predict significant change in people's way of thinking, being, and doing as they adapt to the age of AI. You think about a child that is 5, 6 years old. They will not be taught like you and I have been taught. Eventually, the teacher's going to be replaced. They don't need them. And the teachers have no one to blame but themselves. Parents are demanding that the education standards come up. And the great thing about having AI as the border of education is that it will present a complete logical curriculum based on the individual child. And then it will make sure that in the classes that it will be assigned, that there will be a coexisting algorithm that will be able to give them an education that no teacher could ever hope to. The transference of knowledge that will be on an unprecedented scale. Every child will be wearing a headset. They will be using an immersive virtual reality AI-based technology. This is how they're going to learn. This is how they're going to experience. And the advantage is those who will have the implants, which they will start, this is 2035 now, where you can optionally, as a parent, have your child integrated with a input-output device. Wow. It says many are concerned about how our adoption of AI systems over the next decade will affect essential traits such as empathy, social, emotional intelligence, complex thinking, ability to act independently, and sense of purpose. Some have hopes for AI's influence on humanity's curiosity, decision making, and creative, give me a chance here, ability. Got lost. They got lost in the paper, or I did. But anyway, it's in this one, they put together a team of people from many different disciplines. And they said, well, they came together, and the whole process was to talk about this whole transformation of humans to the digital verse. And the process they use is that the visionary team has organized several meetings to discuss the topic of being human in a digital world. You see, it's a foregone fact. It's not debated. It's already here and you're in it, whether you want to be or not. The team has discussed issues such as how identity should be represented in the digital space, critical elements of communication, the relationship between real and digital identities, and how these are represented or codified, and the constraints in these intersections. This is deep. This is the type of discussions that every government should be having. It should be an open forum. There should be town hall meetings on this because it's happening. And it's happening at such a speed that, quite frankly, 24 hours becomes almost ancient history in the digital verse. And it opens up a whole lot of moral, ethical, spiritual, metaphysical. I mean, it's just the philosophical questions. The machine is literally taking over. I mean, there's already theories out there that, your thoughts are not really your thoughts. This is where that Bible learning, I always revert back to Isaiah. I think it's Isaiah 55. When that Lord said, my thoughts are not your thoughts, clearly indicating that thought has category and separation. And apparently power at the same time. I'm just saying. Let's see. The concept of European values and how the meaning of specific values might change depending on country, language, and etc. That's the problem we got here, because all of those are writing their AIs, and how these are represented digitally, and how human values and constraints impact the digital world, and how our behavior connecting the questions of identity, values, and the digital world. I read this easing that came into my, and I chuckled when I read it because it's true. The world is now, I'll just be blunt. So we have this digital overspill. Consider it raw sewage. It's what's happening now. And that's beginning to pollute the digital world. There's so much AI shit that's overflowing in the digital verse, it's having an impact on us in this verse. Because if you look at this world, which would be a representation of the machine takeover, I mean, look what happened at Davos. Those people live in a fantasy world that ain't natural. And they think they're the elites. And they're really the elites of nothing. They don't understand what has actually happened to them. And all you have to have is an AI program that suddenly decides to become hell-bent on making a certain wealthy leader's life hell, or a group of them. It can do it. It could so manipulate things in the digital verse that when the physical verse checks in to see what it's supposed to be doing, it suddenly gets this readout of holy shit. And the thing about it is, it can actually manufacture evidence because it can actually digitally alter timestamps. And the next thing you know, they're knocking on your door, coming to arrest you. Hell, they even have, well, the facial technology. It looks like we had a little glitch, but that's you. And you can say, no, I never left my house. No, 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 no. We got you right there. And we got this whole trail of evidence as well. That's what I'm talking about. And this is what they were talking about. The concern is in academia. You now have students who cannot comprehend independent thought. They're so reliant on the AI that they look to the AI to begin to write their papers. And now there's, fortunately, I think many of these professors are saying, oh, wait a minute, you know, you didn't write this. Well, yeah, I did. No, that doesn't sound like you at all, Brian. Yeah, that's me. I'm just evolving. I'm growing, It's like, what does a computer know? You can't really do this. Um, I like this. The format of the debate. Students were invited to a virtual debate on the theme of being human in a digital world. The debate consisted of a set of dilemmas, prompts, and impossibilities to spur conversation and exchanges of views to provide student insights on these tricky questions and more broadly, to experiment with potential approaches to making digital worlds more human. VR was used to experiment with innovative forms of conferencing. You just imagine when they start rolling it out, probably in about 2 years. I think Facebook already has it. I think that if I'm right, many of the VR sets can be, in fact, integrated with virtually every social media platform. Just that it's going to be much more enhanced when everybody is joining in. Um, so it goes in to show who was participating in it, what was spoken about. The thing about it is, let's see what the outcome of the debate was. Young people are uniquely positioned to navigate and shape this evolving landscape as the digital and physical worlds intertwine more deeply. A group of students from Leiden, Helsinki, and Krakow recently convened to discuss the relationship between these realms as a part of Europa Visionary Team's research entitled Being Human in a Virtual World. Isn't it interesting the terms that they now integrate and use? It's the recognition and the acceptance that realms do in fact exist. They're real. And one realm impacts another. Said that discussions took place in the meta workrooms with virtual 3D spaces. Um, let's go on to this. Let's see what they got in. Said the students unanimously acknowledged the interplay between the virtual and physical realms, emphasizing the importance of maintaining a balance. It says Miktolja reflected on his youth when online gaming was a minor pastime due to limited travel opportunities, while the virtual world offered him a way to connect and engage during that time. He now prioritizes offline interactions, which he finds richer and more meaningful. I hope that's representative of all the youth. Another student supported this sentiment, pointing out that while digital interactions are invaluable in situations where physical meetings are impossible, they lack the authenticity and natural flow of an in-person interaction. For her, physical presence simplifies friendships and fosters a deeper. Yeah, but remember, Gene Roddenberry in Star Trek Next Generation showed us what the holodeck can do. Yeah. The infamous scene with Data playing poker with Hawkins and what was it, Einstein and the rest of them. Great scene. Let's continue. This paper says issues are of negative impact of the digital process on society in general, and people in particular are considered as well as problems of influence of network communications, virtual space, digitalization of education, formation of digital culture on personality. By the way, if I got time, well, where did the time go? These social credit scores. The implication that is now becoming very real that as one nation integrates mandatory digital IDs, the integration of then the social credit score becomes much more easier. As the forced digitization of their society into this digital verse, and now with the dystopian masters, they will now begin to control resources. If your social credit score is not high enough because of what you may have typed in a chat room was determined to be not helpful to society, your social credit score just went down. As a result, you're not going to be able to get that particular reservation in that restaurant you wanted. Or you may not have the ability to buy that product on that online shopping site. This is no shit. This is exactly how it works. Um, you may think you've got money that can go out there, but what you're going to find the barrier to be is those that have the goods and products. Because if they're drinking the Kool-Aid, you ain't getting it. And it's true. It is argued that an emerging digital society devalued in the phenomenon of knowledge in the traditional sense, value and significant in practical terms, is not the possession of knowledge per se, but the ability to buy it, isolated of tremendous information resources, and at a certain time and at a certain scale. There is an analysis and generalization of the transformations generated by the age of the figure and affecting humans. The category of person in his social hypostasis is chosen for scientific analysis, which allows to better understand the essence of an ongoing transformations. Yeah, and most importantly, their social and psychological consequence. And to close it out, this paper here deals with the types of consequences of social scoring systems shaped by people's perception and behavioral reactions. It gets really spooky, folks, because now this damn thing is going to be judging your emotional response and giving that a score. Again, I don't know who wrote these programs. I don't know what their biases are. I don't know if there's some freaking pervert. I don't know. But they're writing these programs. And the problem is you've got corporations, companies, and, then buying them, implementing them, duplicating them. I really feel sorry for the people of the future. I mean, I grew up in a time where, yeah, I still remember that time. I was 15 years old, standing on the corner of Westminster and Montrose, Westheimer and Montrose, excuse me, selling the underground newspaper for 15 cents, and most people would give you a quarter. It's pretty good profit when you think about it. And for me, I was there every week. We actually owned that corner. There was a group of us. And I always had tabs of acid or, joints. You know, give me a $5 bill and you want to hit an acid, that's fine. It only costs $2, but I appreciate the tip. So as a 15-year-old, I was finding out the value of an underground economy, that cash was king. And if you had the product with the right audience, you could become much better off than you were before. And you won't be able to do that anymore. I don't think I would do it today. That was a different time. Being a hippie and having long hair was cool. And where I lived in the Montrose area, it was the heart of the social revolution. Yeah. I mean, that's all I can say. And the youth will never have that other opportunity. This won't happen. So anyway, folks, I appreciate. Hey, Gaia, how you doing, darling? Good to see you. How's Paul? The Cortez show is on here. Appreciate you, Greg. But yeah, well, it was fun. I have to say, it was fun. You know, I was homeless. there for a while. And then you can find out that landlords, can be bought with money. Because no one, I was 16 by then, is going to rent to a 16-year-old. Yes, they will. I can tell you that right now. That's all I can tell you. But I loved it. Yeah. And it was through those connections. That's how I got to work for a while with Concerts West. One of the producers, lived in the Montrose area. Dug the fact that I gave him some really good pot. Yeah. I still remember when he came by. He says, "Hey, you looking for some, side gig?" Yeah, yeah. I come down to Sam Houston Coliseum that time. He says, "Here, tell him this." And went down there, and who the fuck could ever thought that I would actually be one of those cats that would roll the speakers off the truck onto the stage? And then you get to see the concert backstage. You can go out to the side if you want, but hell yeah. And you get to smoke pot because back then it was illegal. Well, many states in Texas is still illegal, but they really busted your ass back in the day. But yeah, so that's all I got to say. What a life. Digitize that. Yeah, they can't do that. Well, AI, I guess, could do anything. It is, a demigod, is it good? Lost in Space says, yeah, good times, though. It is true. It is very true. Yeah. 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 Thank you, Greg. Appreciate that. Elderberry, uh, see, there we go. Reading Elderberry. Yeah, y'all know. That's what I love about this group. Well, there, yeah, we are of a certain generation, but damn, it was fun. All I got to say is that, damn, it feels good to be a gangster. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But I still got my ass whooped one time by the cops. I mean, that was no fun. But yeah, everybody's got to pay a price, right? Yeah. Go easy, rider. Yeah. Remember when that was in the theater? Boy, and didn't it just piss you off at the end? I mean, you just wanted to go out and shoot somebody, you know? So what did we do? We all went out and got stoned and just talked about, yeah, ain't it fucked up out there, man? Swear you got all these damn rednecks, they can't exactly, Hey, will you pass that joint? Come on. That's how it was. Susie Q says, wish I wasn't so stupid back then. Well, but that's the reason why it was so fun, Susie. It was, of course, you were told not to do that, but we did it anyway. And look at the music we produced. Not bad. Anyway, folks, hey Gilbert, what's up, brother? Good to see you. So anyway, have yourself a great weekend. If you're in this storm, take precautions, be good to yourself. I may come on live over the weekend, maybe get Mike and Cindy and see if they want to come on. Um, because it's a historic storm. If we can record, I mean, broadcast, we might. So who knows? Um, but anyway, Rick says, yeah. Well, we used a term back then that they don't use anymore. In fact, Alvin Lee in 10 Years After off of the Cricklewood Green album, Good Morning Little Squirrel Girl. Doom, 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 bum, bum. Morning little school. Anyway, I want to ball you all night long. Well, balling was fucking. That's what it was. It was just a more couth, refined way of saying it that the straights didn't know what we were talking about. What do you mean balling? Yeah, that's going back. Hey, Rabbit Keeper. So anyway, Nina, how you doing? Good to see. Hey, I guess we're going to be at war with Canada, Nina. Looks like that it's Trump has rubbed your prime minister definitely the wrong way. But we have each other and we have our, little community here. Um, Same time, I'm thinking about that, Steve. Yeah. I mean, college football is over with. I really enjoy college football. Congratulations, by the way, to Indiana. Perfect 16-0 season. Way to go. I mean, that was something else. And I guess what are the odds that Denver goes to the Super Bowl? Aren't they playing this weekend? I'm not sure. I really don't follow, the pro ball. I just think they're overpaid egos on the pro side, but that's just me. It's the college balls that gets exciting, because they can do that to their body. They can really bung it up, but the body heals up pretty quickly. All right, everybody, have yourself a great time. Again, going to try to come on. If I do, it'll be about the same time, and be good. Thank you. Thanks for hitting the like button. Appreciate all of you. I could go with the on and on, but I'll just get the hell out of here. What is the expression? Make like a hockey player and get the puck out of here. So, boom.